Hey, what's up guys? Chris here from DIY E65 E66.com, and today's project we are going to be replacing the Guibo. I believe that's how you pronounce it. The Guibo, or it's also known as the flex disc or the U-joint, universal joint, and we're going to be replacing that. And so first thing what we're going to do here today is we're going to get this car up on jack stands, and you want to get some good room from the floor up to on top of the jack stand, so the taller the better, because we're going to be crawling underneath and trying to have as much room as possible. So okay, so let's go ahead and jack it up. We'll put 2 up front, 2 in the back with safety jack point, but let's get it as high as we can. I'll be right back with you. Alright, hey guys, we're underneath the car here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we got our 5th safety point over here. You're going to be under the car quite a bit, so make sure that you have plenty of safety jack points and your jacks there, and don't skimp on that. You definitely want to take safety precautions there. So what we're doing is we're looking underneath the car here, and first thing what we're going to do here is we're going to remove the side panels here, and it's real simple. I'll tell you how many there are, but we're looking at these things right here to remove these plastic side panels, and right now I'm on the driver's side of the car. We're going to drop that one down, the one over here on this side, because eventually we're going to have to pull out the heat shield when we drop the exhaust here. The heat shield, you have to take off these plastic things in order to get to the heat shield to go ahead and pull that down, because our drive tran is right above the exhaust right here. So let's go ahead and remove the driver's side first, and I'll tell you what size that is and how many there are in just a second. Alright guys, you got a couple different sizes, and again mine is the 06 E65, but probably all years are going to be the same. These little ones right here are 8mm, and then you have a couple different options here, and then you have these ones closer to the heat shield, and these are kind of just screw-on caps right here, and those look to be about, that actually just came off with my hand, but that looks to be about 9 or 10 mil for that one. And these ones are 10mm. Okay guys, and now we're at the plastic piece closer to the back of the car here. Your first plastic piece, don't worry about that one. This one right here, and this is a good focal point here, the crossbar here in the back. This one here, we have one 10 mil there. We got another 10 mil here, 2. We got 10 mil here, 3. And then we have a little 8 mil here, so a total of 3 10s and 1 8. And then this actually just drops down like this, but it's actually connected right here. So we're going to go ahead and finish up all this piece, and then we're going to go ahead and drop the whole thing down. Okay guys, we got the whole entire plastic piece down, and it goes all the way up front right here, and this is where the exhaust connects here. So we're going to be taking that apart in a little bit, but let's look at this real quick here. So this is the driver's side door. This is your jack stand. So for future reference, that's your fuel filter. So if you ever want to replace that, that's sitting right underneath the plastic guard here. So let's get a shot down here. So this is what the plastic guard is covering up. This is all your fuel kind of lines and so on, etc. Okay, again on the very rear of the plastic piece, you're going to have 3 10 mil, 1 8 mil. On the front portion, which is, they're both connected, but they'll drop down, but just so you kind of line them up right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12 8 mil with 1, 2, 3, 4 10 mil. So let's go over on the passenger side and remove that covering. Alright, and now I'm on the passenger side of the car here, and this is the same thing on the driver's side, but this is the very front paneling of the car here. You're going to have 1 here and 1 8mm where my middle finger is there. Just 2 up there, because what this does, this front part slips underneath, connects there and there. And so there's just 2 up front. Don't worry about that guy right there, just worry about dropping this. Alright guys, we got the passenger side covering down as well. Again, one long piece. It creases right there, down there, but it locks together still. So we got it all the way up here. We got our same count there, and then some more behind me there. But same count as the other side there. So we drop that down. We're looking at the underneath side here. Alright guys, now that the plastic pieces are down once again here, now we're towards the rear of the car here, and you're going to look up and you're going to see a large crossbar here. And we're going to go ahead and remove this crossbar so we can lower the exhaust here. So there's going to be two bolts here, a couple more in the middle I believe, yeah, another two there, another two there, another two there for a total of 8. And let me get you the size here on that. Alright, we're looking at 13 mil on those bolts. So a total of 8 bolts, 13 millimeter. Alright guys, the crossbar is down. Right there, nice long piece. And there's 4 bolts there, 4 more bolts behind me for, again, 8 bolts, 13 mil. Now what we're going to do here is, right up here, there are 2 bolts connecting the exhaust to the front there. And those are 12 mil, so let's go ahead and take off 1, 2, and then on the other side as well. Here's a closer look for you guys here. 12 mil, 12 mil, and then we're going to move over to the other side, and 12 mil, and then 12 mil there. And then we're going to support the exhaust. Alright, so as you can see, the bolts are actually through the holes there, and this is what the little nut looks like on the end there. Again, 12 mil. So don't worry about the exhaust falling down on you, because it won't fall down unless you pull that out and remove the middle exhaust brace here. So now let's go over to the other side here and remove 1, 2 over there. Alright, I got the driver's side bolts off here as well. So now, alrighty guys, so now what we're going to do here is, we're right here, this is the trans pan here that we're looking at here. Here's a little focal point, here's a little brace right here. What we want to do is we want to go ahead and remove the front exhaust brace, which is right here by my middle finger. So let me get a little closer and show you what that is here. So, right up here, this is your brace, so this is your focal point. But right up here is the exhaust brace here. Here, where my finger is right there, that's 1 bolt, and that's 1 bolt over here on that side. So we want to go ahead and remove that so that the front brace is released. But before you release that, I've hooked up my own custom exhaust brace holder. So I did some tie downs, and I'm probably going to do maybe 1 more around the front of the car just to hold up the exhaust here, so the exhaust doesn't fall down in the front. I don't know how heavy it is yet, so I'm going to put some braces on there so that the exhaust can hold up here. So let me show you a little bit more closely what that is. Okay, and as you can see, my tie downs, so I don't scratch the paint, go on the bottom of the floor there, and goes down on the floor there, around to the other side, and connects on the bottom so that I can go ahead and brace my exhaust. And again, I'm probably going to do 1 more on the driver and passenger floorboards, connected on the bottom for a front brace as well. I'll let you know if I do that. Alright, and for these 2 brace bolts, the front exhaust brace bolts, you're going to need an extension. It's a size 13 mil. 13 mil. Let me get the shot here. But again, there's 1 there, and there's 1 right next to it there. There's 1 right next to it there. So that's number 2, number 1 right here. So let's go ahead and loosen those up. Alright guys, that's what those bolts look like there. And okay, again, both those bolts are off. 1, 2 right there. And again, your exhaust isn't gonna fall down right now, because you still have, again, remember, these bolts right here that are holding this on. So these aren't gonna fall down until you pull that back. So now we have to go release the rear exhaust mounts. Okay, now we're at the rear of the car, driver's side, and as you look right behind the tire here, you're going to see the rear mount here. Underneath here, you're going to find 1 bolt here, and then right behind it where my finger is there, 1 more bolt. So 2 bolts, and that is the rear. And then it's still not going to drop down on you, because you still have 1 right over here. And that is right here. There is 1 huge bolt right there. Drop down that whole mount. So when you go to drop that, be very careful. But for right now, that's going to hold it in place. So let's go ahead and unscrew these bolts here where my fingers are. 1, 2. Let me get the size for you here. Alright guys, those bolts are size 13 mil. So 2 bolts. One, second bolt is on the back side right there, 13 mil. Okay, both bolts are out right there. Now let's go to... Alright, now we're at the very back driver's side of the exhaust, and this is your exhaust pipes coming down. And there is still one more brace right here. And again, they have the end caps on them here, so what we have to do is we have to look up right there, and that is our brace bolt for the very, very rear of the car, right there where my finger is. And that should be a 13 mil. Let me double check on that. Alright, so that bolt is 13 mil, and I've customized my double extension with a 13 mil on the end in order to reach that. Alrighty, and now before you drop the exhaust completely here, I'm at my back bumper here, driver's side, come down here, here's my exhaust tips, and you need to loosen up the exhaust kind of vacuum hose here on the very end here. You're going to see a little black rubber piece here. It's connected up there, but don't remove that. Just remove it from right here. A little bit tough because over the years it's kind of really clamped on there, so I just sprayed a little bit of WD-40 on the outside of it, and then very, very carefully just kind of got a flathead screwdriver in there and just very, very carefully popped it back just a little bit, and then it went ahead and it's nice and free now. So there we go. That's it removed, and it has a little nipple there to keep it on. So be careful of this here. Remove this before you lower the exhaust completely. Okay, that bolt is out, and now we're free and we're kind of free dangling there. There's the bolt there. We're free dangling, and again, this is the exhaust pipe bolt. And then, of course, we have those two out there, but the exhaust has not dropped yet because we still have, again, remember, your safety harness right there, right where that plastic piece is, or I'm sorry, the rubber piece right there. Alright, we got that bolt off there. And again, that is right there where the light's shining. That bolt goes there. And that bolt right there is an 18 millimeter bolt. 18 millimeter. And what I did for a safety precaution here is I'm not sure exactly how heavy this is, of course, and I try to put some safety braces underneath here. So I screwed back in these just kind of hand tight, the ones that I already took off. So now I'm going to unscrew them, kind of bracing the exhaust with one arm, and go ahead and take those out now. It's always better safe than sorry. Alright, so now what we're going to do here is all the bolts are off, all the brace bolts are off, and so we're going to go back up front, and we're going to start kind of at the front there and carefully slide the exhaust back, and we're going to go ahead and free dangle it on our orange tie downs there so it doesn't fall down and crash. So let's go up front and slide the exhaust on back and remove it from the bolt harnesses. And while you're sliding it out, I'm towards the front of the car now. This is the transpan right here. This brace right here, nice little silver thing that attaches to the rubber mount. Again, you know, you removed those two bolts earlier. It's not dropping down, so I just kind of slid it backwards. And now let's go ahead and remove the exhaust. Alright, the brace in the middle there definitely helped out a lot. And see, it caught it so it didn't come down completely. That exhaust is pretty heavy. Alrighty, exhaust is completely down. That's our end. That's the front of our car up there. Our plastic pieces we just kind of laid underneath the car here. And I'm probably going to try to, well, I'm working in a one-car garage, so it's a lot tougher. But I'm going to try to go ahead and just put my exhaust over here so I can work on the drive shaft. But now we have to remove the heat shields to get to the drive shaft. Alrighty guys, now we're down below by the heat shields. And there's two pieces of the heat shield. And first piece is right here, and it runs to about the middle right there. As you can see, the kind of the middle of the drivetrain right there. So there's only 3 bolts, 3 8mm bolts. One is right here with my fingers. Sorry about the, I'm like directly under the car, so sorry about the angles. But here's one towards, again, transpan right here. So we got 1 8mm, we got 2 8mm, and we got 3 8mm right there. So let's remove those, remove the first piece of the. Okay, and the first piece here, it slips out right there and just drops on down. And there's the first piece of the heat shield. I just set it on top of the exhaust there to the right hand side of the car. Alright, now we can see our center bearing right there. We can see our center bearing right there. There's the rear of our drive axle there. And then up here is the famous Guibo. Alright guys, now I'm looking towards the front of the car there. And check out that. That's why there's slop in my second to first, first to second. And that's why it does feel like sometimes when I go slow over a speed bump, it feels like something's hitting me, that jerky, almost like someone hit you in the back of the car. Look at, sorry, I'm trying to get this angle. Look at right here. That slop right there and there. So when this goes, this is like click, click. So that's it. Looks like it's up there where my finger is too. So that is the culprit right there. That is the bad Guibo. Alright, now let's go towards the rear of the car. Let's remove the 8mm bolts on the back here and lower the rear heat shield. Alright, there's just two. One and then two right there. 8mm. Alright, and that is the second heat shield is down as well. Put it on top of the exhaust there. So now we go up here to the rear of the transaxle. Alrighty, now we're going to go back here. This is the rear of the car here. This is your drive shaft, of course, connecting to the back of the car. Good focal point, that's your jack mount there. And right here, so these guys right here are kind of funny shaped, but a 10mm, we'll go ahead and take those off. And they're on there pretty tight, so if they are, just use a wrench, maybe a little rubber mallet at the end of it, kind of knock it loose, put some penetrating oil on there. But again, 10mm, so we're going to go ahead and take all these out. Couple behind the drive shaft here, so I believe there is six I believe, through to two more where we can't see there. Let me see, 1, 2, yes, okay, total of 6. Alright, so some of these bolts are a little tricky. You got, again, the two in the back there, right where my wrench is here. So the easiest thing to do is, what you do is you take off the one next to it, and then you put your wrench on there, and those are on there pretty tight. So I used a 3/8 actually. Now, if I were you, I would go to the store and buy the correct star socket. But a 3/8 does fit on there nice and tight. Do not strip the bolts. So buy the star sockets. But a 3/8 wrench is the correct size. So forget what I said earlier about the 10mm. Go 3/8. It's on there. And then I just took a rubber mallet, hit the bottom part right here. Make sure you don't strip the bolts again. Let me show you what the bolts look like. There's the bolt. Again, star. So you want a star socket. So go out and buy yourself a star socket set. If not, 3/8, but just be careful. Alright guys, so those bolts again there, I was struggling with one, so I actually just went out and bought a little set, pretty inexpensive. This is a star, it's called an E-Torx, and that size is an E12 right there. And I was able to take off that last one, but just be careful in a 3/8 little wrench with a little rubber mallet on the end of it. It should be fine. But if you don't feel like maybe potentially stripping, you know, I just had trouble with one, but all the other ones were just fine. So if you feel like going out and picking up a set of this, E-Torx 12 can remove those. I left one in, just hand tightened. Now I'm moving back over to right here, and I'm going to get these two right here on the center bearing right here, and this is a 13mm, and this is a 13mm, so let's remove those. Okay, so we got one bolt out right here. We're going to keep one in, and we're going to take it down slow here. I don't want this thing dropping on my head. So now we're over here. And this right here is an 18mm, 18mm up top, 3 bolts. Concentrate on the chrome silver ones. Don't worry about the black ones. And the easiest thing to do is strap on an 18mm with a breaker bar. And let me show you exactly what that is. I got an 18mm on the end of a breaker bar,
and that was very easy to get those bolts loose there. And then go between an extension, and then this one back here I had to use it just straight up on the breaker bar, just a socket on the breaker bar, and then these ones I put a little extension on there to get to them, but pretty easy, and just loosen them on up. Now I'm going to go ahead and loosen them all the way, pull them out, and then drop this thing down slowly here. Alrighty, and the back of these bolts right here, they actually have nuts on the end of them, which you need to actually lock in the back here. So, alright, so for these bolts here, these can either be tricky for you or they can be pretty easy if you follow this tip. So what you do here is the ones you're going to take out to remove the drive shaft is going to be this one I've already taken out, and this silver one up here. Okay, the drive shaft is connected to the Guibo by these ones, and the Guibo is connected to the transmission little twirl thing, behind the Guibo. So these bolts here release the drive shaft, so you can drop it down, and then the Guibo will come on down with the drive shaft. Now what I do is I go ahead and take a socket with an extension, and I get it right up here on it like this, right here, and so I'm able to crank it slowly, you know, just a little twirls at a time. But these are self-locking nuts on the back side, so it's kind of hard with one hand with the camera. So picture this staying right here, and I'm cranking it, loosening it with this side, so this is staying put. So okay, picture that staying put on there, and then what you do is you slip a wrench, and those bolts are 18mm, by the way, but on the back side it's a little tougher to get an exact wrench on top. So I took a 19, and this is the transmission filter right there. This is the plastic covering. Here's the transmission mount. So come right on the back side of the transmission mount, and you don't have to drop the transmission mount, so please don't do that if you don't know what you're doing. And right here, there's a little access hole here. See those bolts up there? You can actually see them. See the one right there where the end of my wrench just pointed to? That's the one that I just showed you where my socket was. So you gotta get way up there with a wrench. Sorry about the camera work. And then you lock on to the wrench, and I actually use this side of the wrench because it's easier with a 19, because even though it's bigger than the actual nut, it won't be able to fully loosen all the way, you know what I'm saying? So it'll kind of lock in there. So you put this side on here, and then it come back around here again, and then remember, picture the socket on there, and then you go ahead and just loosen it a little bit at a time. And then when it gets loose, this is the good part, when it gets loose, you can actually twirl this so that if you really need to, you reach back and up in here with your wrench, and you can kind of adjust it accordingly so you can lock it in there on the opposite side, and then come over here with your socket. And then right before you feel the nut about to drop, stop and go ahead and unscrew the nut with your hand, because if it does drop down in somewhere in this pit of darkness down there, you might lose a nut, so be careful about that, okay? So take the nut off with your hand. Let me show you. So we got the nut right here. Okay, there's the nut right there. And then you pull out the bolt there. Okay, that's number 2. I got one more right there to do. Okay guys, so sorry about the camera work again, but there's my wrench on that last nut I just showed you. So look how far it is up there, and I'm actually holding it on the back side with my hand right here, and then I'm going to come around and I'm going to get it with the socket on that nut, the top nut you see in this picture right here. So a little tricky, but you guys got it. So the longer your wrench. Okay, alrighty guys, so the rear back there, I took all the bolts out. I pulled out all the bolts, and I tried to slide the rear out, and it just was not budging. I tried, there's a little slot. There's actually 2 slots right on the edge right here where my finger is, and on the other side there's little 2 slots where you can put a flathead screwdriver, even some needle nose pliers, and I tried to pry it. Tried some WD-40, it would not come out, and I'm just fighting it, just not come out. So I'm not compromising, but I'm kind of a spur of the moment improving here. So I left that in. I lowered my my middle here, and then over here what I did is the same way I took off those bolts, you know, coming in from the access area here. I went ahead and took off the black ones as well. Same exact way you see earlier in the video. I slip a wrench under here, socket up here. Alright, like again I said, I had to improvise. But the correct, proper way to do it is you undo those bolts, you take that back, and for some reason if that's not going, then you have to loosen the center bearing here in order to get a little bit of flex in the shaft, be able to pull it back. And definitely watch out, you don't want to have that thing come down on your face there. And then also, you can if you want to, but remember the way the shaft is when you before you take it down, remember the correct alignment so that you can have a smooth rotating shaft. And let's go back over here. And this, again, I'll get a better shot of this, but this is the old Guibo here.
Alrighty guys, and make a long story short, as I was editing the video, I noticed there was some footage that just kind of disappeared on me. I thought I copied it to my computer. It was the footage of myself taking out the old one and then kind of showing you the details of the old one compared to the new one. Unfortunately, it's kind of lost for good on the iPhone, but I'm going to try to make up for it here. So this is the new one here that's already obviously in the car. This is I went with an OEM, and it's also known as the propeller shaft joint. There's the part number there for the OEM one. Pick that up online, and I'll have in the description box below, look for that. So this is the old one here, and let's take a look at it a little bit closer here. And it doesn't look too bad, but check this out. So this is why it is bad here. These things are really loose here. See that there, and there, and that one. See, that one's really bad. This is what causes the clunk, clunk, clunk. My new one, there was no play like this at all. Absolutely no play. So that's the difference between the old one and new one. And let me show you. Let's see here. And this right here, let's get in there nice and tight. This right here shows a little BMW symbol. On the BMW genuine ones, you're going to get that up top. You're going to get some serial numbers at the bottom here. A couple numbers over here as well. Anyway, this right here, the BMW symbol on top, this faces the back of the car. So this goes in like this. So I'm gonna be mounting it like this, where the black bolts, the drive shaft goes right where my thumbs are here, and then it locks on to the transmission mount, not transmission mount, but the transmission like this. So the BMW symbol right there is facing the back of the car. Now let me show you something else here. Here we have little arrows there. Right here, and then let's see, also right there. Now notice how this one here is facing to the left, and this one is facing to the right. Well, the ones facing to the right are your silver bolts, and your silver bolts are the ones that lock into the transmission propeller there on the back, the silver bolts. Now, the ones that are facing to the left there, those are the bolts that go on the black bolts that go onto the drive shaft. So just when you take it off, make sure that you know what bolts go which, and look at rewind the video, pause the video, but you'll see the silver bolts and black bolts, and there are arrows, like I said, all over it. One right there, one right there, one right there. Let's see, I already showed you that one right there. So that's how you know. But a focal point is, again, just remember that the BMW little symbol there faces the top, at least when I pulled it off, faces the top and faces the back bumper there. So all I did was I just kind of slipped it off, slipped the new one back on, mounted it, and then let's continue with the video.
Alright, so again, because I'm customizing it and I didn't get off the back here, same thing when you go to put it back in. Up here, we're going to go ahead and retighten them the same way we untighten them. And that, again, if it was kind of hard to understand, is right here is your center bearing. Loosen those bolts up so there's slack in it and a bend. Then you can freely rotate the drive shaft as long as your bolts aren't in, your silver bolts aren't in here. You can actually pull it back, rotate it, and then I like to go this bolt right here one at a time. So I've tightened two now, so I'm going to pull it back, rotate all the way, the top one, that's hard to get to, all the way back around here to the bottom so I can get my wrench in right here. Now, I went over and I borrowed another wrench from my pop. Let me show you this one. This is an 18. See that right there? That is a good wrench to have for this. I definitely recommend an 18 like this. And this is 18 on this side and 19 on that side, but it's an 18, and then just use your breaker bar, torque bar on this front side. So that saves a lot of time, guys. A lot of time. And to get the wrench on properly, just go ahead and reach in with this hand here, making sure that it's right on the back of the nut, and then grab your socket, hold it down here, tighten it on up. Alright, so the new Guibo is in, and doing it my way without dropping the drive shaft completely. Again, I showed you the curvature of the 18. That is for the black bolts. That is definitely a helper for the black bolts. And when I mean black bolts, I mean this one, and the one above. And then for the silvers, because they're a little bit different for the silver ones, your regular 18. I use the front side of the 18, and that was for the silver bolts. So my new Guibo is tightened up, and it's looking really good. I did it nice and tight, German strength tight. You can get the complete torque specs if you want, but I did not mind nice and hand German strength tight with a little bit of oomph on that last tighten. So that's how hard I tightened them. Okay, now we're back at the center bearing here, and we're going to go ahead and tighten this back up here. Not completely. We just kind of hand tighten it in there and put it in, about hand tight there. But we're going to come back down over. We're going to come back down over here, put all those bolts back in, push that back in, get those bolts back in, and things are looking good. So I reviewed the video, and this is exactly how my drive shaft was when I pulled it down. This little circle was facing downward. This little ridge right here was facing downward. And then over here, on this side here, I rewatched the video and I noticed, see this little thing where my fingernail is? This little metal piece right here was like this when I first started the project. So that metal piece is back, so the drive shaft is nice and put back the way it needs to be. It's nice and level. We're looking really good. And so let us begin those bolts back there. Alright, and when putting back these bolts here, don't forget about your little silver plates that come off when you pull off the bolts. And then take your specialty, again, remember, take your E12, and this thing is a beauty. So if you don't have a 3/8 lying around like I told you, make sure you don't strip these. Okay, with all the bolts in back here, all 6, let's go ahead and move over here, towards the front of the car, and we're going to see the bearing here. And so let's go ahead and tighten these bolts here. We have 1 and 2, that's 13 mil. Let's tighten those up. Now it's time for the rear heat shield after you've tightened your bearing bolts. Let's go ahead and put the rear heat shield on, and when I talk about rear, I'm talking about the one that goes by your rear differential there in the back here, towards the bumper of the car. Alright, so the back heat shield is in, and remember, you have right there at the very, very back right there, you have a bolt 8 mil, and right where the tip of my finger is at the very back of the heat shield, another 8 mil. That's it, just for the back. The front piece, remember, slides in this little crease here. So there's a little bit of a gap here, so the front piece slides in. And then we come around to the front here, and you have, again, right in the dead center, right behind the trans pan there, you have one 8mm. You got one more over here, 8mm, and the rest 8mm. And then the plastic pieces that you're going to put on after your exhaust is going to hold up with all the other holes. Alright guys, now we hang the exhaust back up. And I'm going to start by connecting it to the front here. Right here, towards the front of the car. And of course, have a support in the middle. And then probably put my tie downs back on so I can kind of support it. And then go ahead and retighten the center bolt there. Alright guys, when hanging the exhaust, definitely helps if you have a two-man team. One-man team you can do it, but a little tougher. The front of the exhaust by the catalytic converter, that's kind of the toughest part to line up those bolts. So what I did, because I'm alone in my garage, I hung this bolt first. This is, the end of the exhaust tips. That bolt right there, remember that bolt, 13mm. Hung that first, and don't forget you still have your little tubing you got to connect to the sensor in the back there. Okay, and that just goes on the little nipple, and then shove it carefully without ripping the tube. Sorry, shove it all the way carefully, not ripping the tube all the way to the front until it touches right there. Then make sure you clip it in right there. Then make sure you clip it in the little holder right there. Then I left the third one right there. I left that unbolted. Then I went to the front, and with my knee as a brace and a couple tie downs and a couple paint cans and old jugs, I lined up the catalytic converter, the front exhaust, and I'll go up there right now and show. Alright guys, and then remember, you have to, now I'm towards the front of the car by the catalytic converters here, right there, and on the other side, and remember you still have your little rubber mount here. Slide the little crossbar from exhaust to exhaust back in this here, and then you're going to go ahead and tighten down the crossbar bolts here and here, and then we're going to tighten the bolts here and here. Okay, and before we put on the plastic pieces here back on, remember we got to put the brace, the long black brace there that has 8 bolts. Alrighty, and now with the brace back in, again, those are 13mm 8 bolts. Let's put on the passenger plastic here. Now it's time for the passenger side plastic. Alright, my passenger side on. Remember that they are 10mm bolts and 8mm bolts. Alright, so we got the last plastic piece under the driver's side. We jack down the rear of the car, and now we're going to go ahead and take the jack stands off the front there and take it for a test drive. Alright guys, lastly, we're in the car, we're about to do a test drive, but we are also, from what I've researched, we're going to do a transmission adaptation reset. It goes by a couple other names, but okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take the key, we're going to put it in the ignition slot here. You're not going to push down on the brake, you're not going to push down on the accelerator, you're just going to put the car to position number 2. And your AC will come on, your lights will come on, etc. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to hold down the gas pedal, the accelerator pedal, now for about 30 seconds. And so I'm going to restart the camera so I know how much time it is. And people say about 25 seconds they actually heard a little noise indicating the reset. It's okay if you don't hear it. You might hear a faint noise. But listen, so let's go ahead and push down on the accelerator now for about 30 seconds. Okay, we're beginning now, all the way to the floor. $15.
Okay guys, I actually did hear a very, very faint, I'm talking like it almost sounds like there's an ant in your car. It's very quiet. If you have bad hearing, you're unfortunately not going to hear it. You actually hear something up in this general area. So if your AC's on, if your radio's on, turn it off. And what it is, you'll hear this little like, if you guys can hear me on camera, it goes, but like very, very faint. And that is the reset. So don't worry about, there's no flashing lights or anything like that. And so let's go ahead and start the car and take it for a test drive. Alright guys, so everything is checking out really good. After the adaptive transmission reset, a couple things that I want to go over real quickly here. The Guibo is running real smooth. It's beautiful. It's like butter. My jerkiness has gone away. Putting it into reverse, I don't hear a clunk. Putting it into drive, I don't hear a clunk. So new Guibo fixed it. I love it. I've been driving around for about 4 hours, and it's looking really good. So I'm very pleased with the results. After the adaptive transmission reset, I do want to say that down here there was a little chime, and down here, and then over here it said please drive moderately, and a little triangle came up with a little like circle, almost like I was trying to do like burnouts or something like that. That might have been from the adaptive transmission reset or the Guibo. I'm not really sure. And then also, the first time I put it into park after the adaptive transmission reset, I did get something over here that said parking failure or something like that. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember. I couldn't get it on film. It was very quickly. It said parking something failure. But I've started the car, stopped the car for the last 3 or 4 hours, probably about 10 times, 11, 12 times, running some errands, doing some business. And those symbols have not come back after the second time I started the car after the adaptive transmission reset. So just giving you guys a little heads up on that. If you do the adaptive transmission reset and you get those chimes, mine went away and they haven't been back since the second start. Or if it's because of the Guibo, the new Guibo joint, then it's going to go away after the second start. All right. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was definitely a memorable experience, to say the least. I got stuck a couple times, but through the video, please just watch it over and over again. And if you get stuck, just do what I did. You'll get right through it, guys. So enjoy the vid. Please stop over by DIY E65 E66.com. Say hello, stop by, and say what's up. And also look in the description box below for the Guibo joint. I'll have some links where you can pick that up, or visit the website DIY E65 E66.com, and you can purchase it through the tools and parts page. And so you guys have a wonderful, we got 4th of July coming up here, so for the United States, you guys have a good 4th of July, safe. And for the rest of the world, God bless. You guys have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye-bye.